One of these days, football is going to be over, and I'm not going to know how to start a podcast because I
I
can't say
know.
this week in football. Um, but this,
After the middle of February, Ben's gonna not know how to start a podcast ever again.
I don't know what to do.
Hello and welcome to Sports Den, the podcast. I am Jordan Ennis. We are here with Ben Kravitz and Jonathan Ennis. And this week we are ready to go at it. So, Ben, you got our rundown.
All right. So we're looking at this week in football. That's one of these days, football is going to be over, and I'm not going to know how to start a podcast because I can't
I know.
say this week in football. But this,
After the middle of February, Ben's gonna not know how to start a podcast ever again.
I don't know what to do. But this week in football, a lot of cool things, crazy things have happened. Any kind of first things we jump up, we got some little subtopics we wanted to get into, but anything that jumped out to you guys this week or?
I was at a conference all week, so I didn't get to watch any games this week. But I will say this: I was driving through Nashville on my way back, and legitimately saw ads trying to pass off Ryan Tannehill as a franchise quarterback, and I almost laughed so hard I drove off the road. Like it was hilarious and really funny. But that's all I was able to get for football this week.
Yeah. So there's that. I saw replays and stuff of it. They had other things going on yesterday. But we actually had a decent entertaining Thursday night game.
Is this the year of okay Thursday night games?
Like just some okay, like it was good. It was entertaining. Like it may not have been close. And again, that's the other thing. A game doesn't have to be close in order to be good and entertaining. Like no, it was.
And just because a game is close doesn't mean it's good and entertaining.
Yes. The week before that. But yeah, yes. Kind of crazy stuff that went on this week. But going through, announced earlier this week was a quarterback change for the starting quarterback of the Washington Redskins. We've kind of hinted on this in other podcasts that there's been a lot of backup quarterbacks. We're going to do a quick go through of all of the NFL teams and look who has started a backup quarterback and who has a likely chance of starting another backup quarterback this year. Because
I think we should start with who has first and then go to
who has. Well, so we're just going to go through the list here and figure it out. Did you get it? So the Arizona Cardinals, the first one on the list that goes through, and
they have not. They have not. And if Kyler Murray keeps playing the way he's playing, there's no need to switch.
If he stays healthy, again, that's always going to be I think that's always going to be a question with him.
Isn't he smaller than me?
He's smaller than me.
He's definitely smaller than you horizontally.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even vertically. Like, how tall is Murray?
He's listed at 5.
He's 5. I think he said he's 5'9". Is what he measured at the combine.
He looks smaller than that.
Well, it's because everyone around him's a giant.
That's true. That's
but he's also not like. I mean, he's built. He's not built.
Slight. He's not
slight. So I think there's always going to be this little.
Drew Brees have some meat on their bones.
Yeah, like there's always going to be this little fear of him getting hurt. He reminds me a little bit. Now Vince Young was bigger and taller, but I remember watching Vince Young in college. I remember the play. Was playing against USC. My first thoughts. I remember looking at his legs, and I'm like, that guy's legs are twigs. But yeah, he's got this small guy.
So loved Vince Young. The problem was he had to play under Jeff Fisher. It had nothing to do with his legs.
But he also he didn't have the mindset for it. But that's not the discussion here. The discussion here is, yes, the Arizona Cardinals have not started a backup quarterback. And as long as everyone stays healthy, I don't see that happening. And also the way he's played and the way they played, I'm not going to actually classify. There's other players later on this list that I'm going to say, you know what? This guy is an injury risk. This guy will get hurt, and therefore their team will start another quarterback. I can't say that about the Cardinals.
Yeah, no, I don't. Unless he gets an actual legitimate injury, they're not going to start anyone else because there's no point in starting anyone else. Get Kyler as many reps as possible.
Yeah.
So next team, we're doing this in alphabetical order, going through the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons did start a different quarterback.
And it won me a fantasy game.
It's always great when you get a guy that don't. And then looking back, we couldn't remember if they start another guy. But yeah, they started. So that's one team down that has started an extra quarterback. Baltimore Ravens, they're not starting another quarterback if they don't.
No. And
unless something happens. That's another one that I'll put in kind of that same Kyler Murray perspective of.
It's been well documented my near love affair with Jackson.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah. Because I almost said RG3, which is his backup.
But that's why it's a near love affair, not a real love affair.
Yeah.
You knew his name had been a love affair.
Yeah. But no, he is what everyone thought RG3 was going to be. So yeah. Lamar Jackson is awesome. He's the best. He is my favorite player to watch in the NFL. Please don't trade that out for RG3.
So Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills did start another one, correct?
Yeah, for that one game.
They got a concussion. I can't remember if he actually started.
Yeah.
So that's two Buffalo Bills have. Carolina Panthers. They might have the best backup quarterback of all. They've got arguably one of the better ones in this. At least he's winning games.
He's so good. I think they're going to trade Cam in the offseason, but we'll get to my take on that later.
The next team we got is the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears haven't started another quarterback, and I know where it's fitting that these two go back together.
Cough. This is where Cam needs to go in the offseason.
But this is a team that they haven't started a backup quarterback, but I think I'm definitely going to say that they should be looking at starting a backup quarterback.
Here's the thing. Mitch Trubisky, for 3/4 of the game, looks thoroughly average. An eighth of the game looks like a future Hall of Famer, and an eighth of the game looks like the biggest draft bust of all time. So I can't figure him out.
It reminds me of I remember going to a Pro Bowl here in Arizona a couple years ago. And someone had a Bears fan. It said, Jay Cutler is the reason that I drink. And I look at it now and I go, you know what? That guy's still drinking. But this time it's not Jay Cutler. It's Mitchell Trubisky.
We would like to point out that Sports in the podcast does not condone drinking.
Yes, we don't. I'm just commenting on a T-shirt I once saw.
It was an observation.
Cincinnati, so they haven't yet, but there's like a decent chance the Chicago Bears will. Cincinnati Bengals are next, and the Cincinnati Bengals have started or have announced that they are benching the Red Rifle, the Red Rocket,
who started off through the first 3 games was leading everyone in passer rating and yards and
he's not awful fantasy wise. He hasn't been a horrible. You could be winning your league right now if you had Andy Dalton as your quarterback. He's not the. But it also kind of
Mixon. I know that from experience.
You can. It's really interesting. You can look at stuff of that was a great turn. That needs to be on something. You guys both turned at the exact same time. That was fantastic.
We've been doing that for 26 years. So.
But yeah, so he hasn't been great, but it also proves that you don't actually. This is an argument I got into on our chat earlier this week of numbers lie. I'm not saying Dalton was the problem. I mean, that's just a bad team, but no, despite the numbers, at no point this year was he any good. Yes, he put up numbers, but he was still bad.
Yeah,
numbers lie. The Browns have not started another quarterback.
I don't think they're likely to.
That's unlikely. I know there are going to be people that are screaming, and everyone's screaming now that he's a bust. You know what, Browns fans? You've waited forever. You haven't won a game. You got to give some guys some time.
For those who don't watch football, which he
Baker Mayfield's not a bust. The Browns organization is a bust.
Yes. Dallas Cowboys are our next team. They go through there. They have not started another.
There's no way. There's no way. Cooper Rush is not gonna win a starting spot, no matter who is starting over him.
they're one of those weird spots where, like, no, they're not going to start, but it's because more so, like, not because of how good. And I think also, if you're in a position where the Cowboys are, you're not going to make a quarterback change. But even then, it's like, no, you literally have no one.
Yeah.
There's no
like
option.
there's no option. Also, Dak is in that tier of there's no reason to start someone else. Like he's in that Matt Stafford tier that there's like that maybe he's not a top 5 quarterback, but there's reason to bench him either.
Yeah. Speaking of reason to bench, yes, my team, yes, the Broncos, we're benching. Flacco is officially on the IR. Flacco, at least for this year, but probably forever, the Flacco experiment in Denver is done. He threw.
How are you going to get rid of that contract? Give the Browns another pick?
I think you eat it. You eat them. He started when you publicly question coaching like that in that situation, especially when the answer is, well, why didn't we go for it? Because no one can trust you, Joe. Like, no, the chances. What was more likely to get us a first down? Us running the ball with Philip Lindsay, one of the only players who actually cares, or trusting you to throw the ball 6 yards. I'm more confident in getting 6 yards running the ball than giving the ball to Joe Flacco. Chances are, I think, in that situation, he's throwing an interception or he's taking a sack.
Yes, Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. It's the weirdest thing ever. Like, both Ravens Super Bowls are with terrible quarterbacks. Like, it's like...
I won't even classify him as terrible. And I think there was a time that he actually was a good quarterback.
But see, to me, what's so confusing about Flacco is it's not like usually when decent or good quarterbacks become bad, it's because they lose their athleticism or they lose they have an injury or something. Like he's just gotten dumber.
Well, that honestly going back to, and this is not me. This is going to sound like me taking a shot at you, Jonathan. I'm not there was a time he was Dak Prescott. That they were actually the same tier of quarterback. Now, granted, Prescott could find his way, move his way up, but
Flacco
Prescott's going to land. I think that they're going to land, and they're going to have very similar. It's the Jeff George level, and I'm not talking about his the way he treated or handled stuff. No, the attitude issue. No, but that level of this is a guy that's going to have a long NFL career. He's going to win some playoff games. He's going to lose some playoff games. He's going to have a long career. And we're going to look back and you're going to remember, I remember some time with that guy. I enjoyed a lot of those.
You're going to remember, he played.
He played. It was fun. It was cool. We had some fun times with that. I think that's kind of the level that Joe Flacco has been.
I agree.
And I think
it's just weird to me that both, the Ravens have had some really decent quarterbacks go through the Ravens organization. Testaverde was good.
Oh yeah.
There was there's my current mild bromance with Lamar Jackson. Like they've had some decent people play, but their Super Bowl wins are with Joe Flacco and what's his name?
I will argue that now granted, just because Jackson is in second year.
Yeah.
No, the best quarterback in the Ravens history is Joe Flacco. Testaverde was good, but by the time Testaverde played, I don't remember Testaverde playing for the Ravens. But it couldn't have been Flacco was the best quarterback that they ever had.
Yeah.
That's just saying partially of they haven't had great quarterbacks.
Let's move forward from
Moving on. Detroit's not changing.
No.
Green Bay's not changing. Houston, you know what? The only thing I'm going to go there is, yes, that line has done well. This is one of those ones that I feel bad predicting an injury, but I have a feeling that someone's going down in Houston.
So here's the thing: they're in circle the wagons mode after JJ Watt went down. So, and then the only thing that's going to happen
line up too well for that to just the story of them going and him going on a big run and then all of a sudden just blowing out his knee. Again,
the thing is,
I'm not wanting this to happen. I'm not wishing this. I know this is your new team. I'm not wishing for this, but I just
no,
it's about to happen.
No, the problem is now I don't think I'll have as much of an issue because it won't be because they just refuse to get in no line if he goes down. So,
Lamar Jackson, yeah, he's fantastic, and yeah, Watson is kind of a different, smaller version or lesser version, but at the same time, also like maybe a better quarterback.
Watson is a slightly less athletic Lamar Jackson that can throw about 3 times as good.
Yeah.
Just everyone on the podcast knows what happened was Dad heard Jonathan talking about the Texans and came in to make a face at him for abandoning the Cowboys. So I just want that to go out onto the podcast.
So I guess that means
do your parents hate me for forcing this decision?
No. The hate is not
hated by extension?
No.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Move forward.
You might have caused the stumble, but it's the problem is on the stumbler, not the person who caused the
Okay, cool. Oh, you just called me the tempter. All right, that's even like worse. Moving on quickly moving on. To I think an asterisk on the list of the Indianapolis Colts. They've only started one quarterback in the regular season. However, this is not the quarterback any of us expected them to start, and therefore I kind of want to count it.
Yeah, you know what? I don't want to count it, but dude, Jacoby's doing pretty well.
No, like he is. He's going to take it, and
yeah,
that's probably the most interesting. One of the most interesting divisions.
If you're the Colts and and you were told, hey, yeah, Andrew Luck's just completely not going to play, but you get Jacoby Brissett, you're like, okay, I guess that's as well as that situation could have gone.
Yeah.
We're going to go through. We're going to keep going. I think we're just going to go a little quicker here. But yeah, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have the best story of all of their backup quarterbacks. I mean,
Minshew Mania would be the story if everyone else hadn't got hurt. But we got to keep it
going there. Kansas City, they had to start another one. The Chargers.
Yeah.
Chargers. I mean, we've all been through that. It's a start. It's a quick one. It's not like any benching.
Yeah. No.
This week or next week, because I think they've got to bye this week. The Chiefs do, I think. But either way, it's not long for the earth. But the Chargers, they're not changing. The Rams aren't changing. One of the biggest surprises for me looking at this, that the Dolphins have actually only started 2 quarterbacks. That number feels like it should be at least 3 or 4.
Yeah. Okay, so the Dolphins are trying to lose. It's obvious they're trying to lose. They are really hampering that effort by starting Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick is just good enough to accidentally win a game. If I was trying to lose, I'd be starting Josh Rosen every game.
Well, talent Rosen still got there, but Rosen doesn't have the mindset. And it's not so much Fitzpatrick's good enough, but Fitzmagic is a thing. There's a reason why we called this.
Fitzpatrick has the mindset. He's just got a noodle arm.
Yeah. Another one that we kind of went through, got into arguments with. The Minnesota Vikings have not started another one. And they possibly could. It all just depends on which quarterback we get, or which
version of Kirk Cousins we get.
Which version of Kirk Cousins? Because earlier I know you were saying earlier that there may have been some discussion on who they were talking about. I distinctly remember a receiver saying, "Our quarterback is garbage." That's the way I heard it. I think that's the way most of the media heard it.
No. The direct quote was, "My wife could make a throw that far."
Yeah.
The direct quote was, "My wife could make a throw that far," and a lot of people, and I've heard it 2 ways in the media. And now Kirk Cousins owned it, and went and made a public apology. But I'm almost wondering if Adam Thielen was actually saying it at the coach for not scheming deep throws.
You don't compare your quarterback to your wife. You could be making some statement about your coach, but if you compare your quarterback to your wife, it's not a good look for your quarterback.
No, it's not.
It's not a ringing endorsement. So who knows if they can start another? I don't even know who the backup is.
Thielen, Diggs, and Kirk Cousins have had that come to Jesus moment, and all of a sudden they're rallying behind Dalvin Cook, and they're cooking in that division. Ooh, I didn't accidental pun there.
Dalvin, see what you did there. All right, so our next team we're looking at this is one that I'm actually going to say all but guarantee will start another quarterback. However, it's going to be weird. The New England Patriots. Week 17, they are not starting Tom Brady because they won't need to. I think they're going to lose before. It's only going to come down to if they're undefeated. Maybe.
No, I don't even think after that they've lost the Super Bowl trying that. They're not even going to try that then. They would rather lose.
Belichick will want it. It's if there's a chance though, if they've got it, it's locked up. They have a loss. Brady's not starting that other game. Now that's kind of another asterisk.
That's the worst division in professional sports.
Yeah,
behind them, it's the least competitive division in professional sports.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
No, it historically has been. I mean, that's. Are you counting?
Anyway.
The New Orleans Saints is another one that started. We need to rock through these. The New Orleans Saints started another quarterback.
Teddy Bridgewater, best one of those backup quarterbacks, by the way. He's going to get paid.
Started another quarterback. The Jets have started 2.
The Jets are about to call one of the 3 of us to come play quarterback for them.
The Jets started 2. So in my tally mark, I'm counting the Jets as twice. The Raiders have not and likely will not. Philadelphia Eagles will be another one. History tells us they're going to start another one.
History tells us, yeah. I agree. But, sorry. I love Wentz, but yeah.
That's just what that's not us predicting. That's what history says. We got the Eagles. The Steelers have started another one.
Yep.
The 49ers
are about to start another one, aren't they? I thought Mason Rudolph just went down.
That's possible, but I haven't heard that. Wait,
someone on the pod fact check us on that.
I'm just trying to think of it because I know they had because the one guy didn't start. Wait, no, they did have another guy start. The Duck, yes, they did start another guy.
Yep. All right.
And the guy that started in San Diego. The 49ers have not and will not as long as they stay healthy.
Should not. Keep Jimmy G going.
The Seahawks have not, should not. The Buccaneers are our next interesting one because the Buccaneers have not, and according to their coach, they will not. But
Blake Bortles. Team Blake Bortles.
There.
Team not getting accused of bad things.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving forward.
We can Kyle on this one. And then the Tennessee Titans have, and the Washington Redskins have, which that brings our grand total to 16 different starting quarterbacks this year, including the 2 teams that have started more than 2 quarterbacks this year. That is half a league's worth. Not half the league is starting to be a quarterback, but that is half a league's worth of quarterbacks.
It's a big turnover.
Yeah,
this is crazy. This is in fact the year of the backup quarterback, and it's crazy. I've been asking people much smarter than me what the record is for most starting quarterbacks. I haven't found anything, but I've looked. Tried to do my own research to try to figure this out. I don't have access to ESPN stats and whatever the group is there. I don't have access to their archives, but this has got to be close to the record for most starting quarterbacks in a year.
It's a lot. It's a whole lot.
I mean, this is nuts. But we're going to go ahead and move on. Let's go on to the World Series. Baseball. Well, I need to take someone. Can you pat him on the back for me? He needs a pat on the back.
I'm not going to lie. That hurt worse than the tanking years. It was so much more painful than the tanking years. But
my 49-year-old dad lost when they made the World Series. And then we lost. He endangered his hips. He was so excited.
It's not a collapse. And I know that's kind of what you had said last week of if this comes through.
You know what? But baseball's just too random for that to count as a collapse.
This was not a collapse. Honestly, the Nats were a good team that got hot at the right time.
Yeah.
That's not a collapse. there's questions of manager decisions and stuff like that we can get into. And a statement I will be making here on this podcast, and I will defend and I will fight for this statement. It was the correct call calling him out at first. The rule is dumb. The rule is bad. I'm not denying that. However, according to the rule, he's out at first.
As an Astros fan, I agree. As an Astros, the rule is dumb, but it was the right call.
Yeah,
also, I think I am on record for saying that umpiring a Game 7 of a World Series is like extremely high on the list of jobs I would not want to do.
Yeah, it's crazy. There was definitely some stuff. Arguments were made this postseason for a robotic strike zone, robot umps. I am on board.
So I am, but I don't want to lose the human element either. So on the one hand, here's my issue. I saw Zach Greinke's face where he gave up the home run, but then he got into that Greinke zone that he sometimes can after he gets a home run, where he's like, "Oh no, I'm not doing this," and then they called a ball on a super obvious strike, and you just saw it deflate his.
Yep.
Like you saw his eyes die, and they had to pull him.
There is a human element that I want to remain in baseball, but balls and strikes don't need that. Like we can actually get those right. There's always going to be judgment calls in baseball where you've got to make that ruling of whether or not what's going on here in this situation. And having a guy back there that can look at stuff, because sometimes those robot umps, even things I've watched stuff, especially in Coors, the way curveballs and things work. In that altitude, it sometimes does not want to catch them, and then cold weather can throw them off as well.
So I would want to
see a time and a place, but we need to. It's getting awful. Catchers are getting so good at framing. I remember actually calling out one of the game on Sunday, with some friends. That's a product of pitch framing. Is one guy? I mean, the umpire actually in the Sunday night got mad at a catcher, called a ball because the catcher didn't frame it long enough. I mean, he literally called it. It was a strike down the middle. As soon as it hit his glove, he jumped up, excited they got the out. And the umpire goes, "Well, I couldn't see it. You picked it up too fast." You're not. What? The umpire just admitted it mattered where the catcher's glove was. It's not supposed to matter where the catcher's glove is.
No, it's not. What's the league that the MLB just made a partnership with? It's like the semi-pro league they made a partnership with, where they're going to test rules. I want them to do that for a year. Robotic umps for a year in that league.
We don't need. We don't need a test. We've seen the test. TV. We see the test every game. We get to look and see where every pitch is instantaneously. We don't need a test. We see the truth. Go through. But on that, we're going to look at, so that's kind of one of the side stories I wanted to look at. Another one, okay, again, this podcast does not condone drinking. However, just because we're about to go into a somewhat serious part of the topic, I absolutely loved that Budweiser gave the guy tickets to Game 7 or Game 6 and 7.
That was funny.
Because he caught one in the stomach while holding 2 Bud Lights. And they said, "You know what? You gave us $7 million worth of exposure. The least we can do is take you to a game." And they made a commercial with it.
Of exposure.
I know exactly where this is going.
Oh, that poor mattress salesman as he loses $13 million.
Nice save.
You seen that?
Well, that's not where I thought you were going when you were making an exposure reference.
No, I wasn't going there at all. But yeah, that was a thing.
That was a thing.
But I do want to, baseball has gotten less and less interesting, but there are some things that have helped it, which are one of the reasons that, for instance, basketball is a really big deal is because of some of your off-court and your transactions stuff have become so interesting that it makes basketball 12-month-a-year sport, even during the off-season. One thing that happened in the off-season for baseball was a certain person from the Nationals left the Nationals, but guaranteed a World Series to DC after he left in his opening press conference for the Phillies.
It takes a real man to make a promise for your old team and then a better man to follow through on it. I don't think I'm capable of that. I mean,
as a diehard Astros fan, this is the only joy I find in this situation. The only joy, and I hold on to it with great strength and stamina, because I will hold on to this till probably postseason next year. This is my joy in this situation.
Yeah, that was good. So, but speaking of the disappointment of that series, I'm gonna Colgate. Can we call it Colgate? Can we do that?
Yeah.
I mean, do we have to? We do not sponsor toothpaste here, but Colgate. That took you a second. Haha. But yeah, it was crazy to watch. That being said, I rarely question. I think it's weird when managers bring starters in. When it works, you look fantastic and you look amazing, and that starter gets a chance to be amazing. But you're asking a guy, hey, here's something you haven't really done, if you've ever done it, since high school or the minors. In Cole, hey, come in in relief. That's not something he had trained to do. That's not something he has done much. And you're asking there, and yes, we've seen success of it happening. The first time I remember of it was Randy Johnson. But even Randy Johnson, he only came in for the ninth to close it off with the Diamondbacks. And then, yes, was it last year when Verlander got like a 5-inning save or something like that?
Yeah.
In Game 7. So, yeah, we've seen it work, but it's always going to be this weird thing. But he didn't go through, and that was the first thing everyone was talking about. How did you not go in? How did you not? People are calling for the manager's head for not taking him out, and his reaction was great.
I've seen it, but I understand the reasoning for it not happening.
Like his reaction are great in the sense, if you do a sports podcast, he gave you the greatest reaction ever. Of as soon as the game is over, he basically, I mean, now he was a free agent, but he immediately declared, nope. The exact word, I'm not an employee of that team anymore.
Yeah.
Like he called himself, I'm done. I'm not a member of this team. I'm nothing. And that blew my mind. Even as going through, because I mean, at the end of the day, they still
tried to walk it back later. Talked about how he says Houston's the best fan base he's ever played for, and all that, and he felt like they were giving him a series even though they lost, or giving him a parade even though they lost, and all this stuff. But that's something you want to see. But Gerrit Cole is going to. Here's the thing: Gerrit Cole lost his start.
Yep.
Like Gerrit Cole has to own that. He has a loss in this series.
Yeah.
After putting forward one of the most dominant pitching performances of all time in baseball's regular season, and he choked away a game.
He messed up on a game. I mean, I'm not gonna say he choked away the game because, truthfully, the Nationals just played well. You look at the best pitchers. They don't give up hits that often, but they do still give up hits, and occasionally those hits go far. That's just the nature of the beast. That's what happens. So yeah, he did, choke away, but it just I've never seen that, especially for a team that we argued was historically good, which despite not winning the World Series, that team was still historically good.
The Astros, the thing is, even though I don't think it was a collapse, because it's hard to classify anything in baseball as a collapse because of the nature of the randomness of a spherical object hit off of a cylindrical object.
In the sport of failure, which that's one of my good friends is a huge baseball guy. That's what he called it. I mean, baseball is the sport of failure because the best hitters still don't have an on-base percentage of more than 500.
Yeah, but
they've got a batting average of 300. which means 1/3 of the time, less than 1/3 of the time, they get a hit.
Yeah.
It's the sport of failure.
In baseball, that's probably the best team that didn't win a championship.
Oh yes.
It's up there with the Patriots when that catch. And then the Warriors with the 73-1 Warriors.
Yeah. It's
collapses.
Yes. Well, let's go before we get into the specifics of the Warriors. Basketball, yep, second week of basketball. We will get into those, but any just quick little things on that. I'll go into the one that I had just because I watched it. Of the Sun, because I think the Warriors, we've got a long discussion on that one. But I want to why does the NBA hate the Suns? Because they clearly hate the Suns, and I know that Sarver is that maybe they're trying to do the city a favor and drive Sarver out. NBA is not going to work. He doesn't care whether he wins or loses. It's not going to work. Stop trying it.
Sarver's the new Donald Sterling sans racism.
It's
like the NBA is like straight up hoping he says something racist so they can Donald Sterling him right now.
But it's crazy.
I get that Ayton has the longest suspension ever for drugs, which is actually not true. Because when you look at it, O.J. Mayo is serving his second year of his 2-year suspension for drugs.
Okay, there's a difference though. That's a ban after multiple failures and multiple suspensions.
Right. But so my question is, did Ayton do something that we aren't aware of?
Because FBI scandal.
I don't think punishing him for that.
They pulled the page out of Goodell's book.
Honestly.
They pulled a page out of Goodell's book, and they're punishing him for being involved in the FBI scandal.
Then, why? I mean, Dennis Smith took more money than he did. I guess
but he was more popular.
Dennis Smith has to play for the Knicks. That's his punishment. Like, I don't know.
Ayton was. I mean, I feel like I look back at it of Ayton. Now, maybe this could just be an Arizona local-ish thing that I heard the name more often. But Ayton's name is way more connected to that than Smith is.
Yeah, maybe.
No, there's receipts about Ayton.
That's true.
There's receipts about Ayton. There's claims about Dennis Smith. There's been claims about everyone.
But beyond that, it actually brings me another thing. It's more and more I'm thinking about it. I love, and I know other people on this podcast don't care about hockey, but I love this time of year because, especially going in a city that has both, because I get to go to games. I get to go to games. Two different teams. I went to the Suns game on Monday, and I'm going to the Coyotes Avalanche game tomorrow. And it's a great time. But yes, going to that Suns game, witnessing a foul. I'm going to declare this right here as far as the rules go. Any time a foul is done with less than a second left, it better be a real foul. Like, someone needs to be on the ground. I'm not going to say there has to be blood, but it would definitely help. Like, no, it's got to be there can't be any question of whether or not there was a foul. If you're going to call a foul with 0.4 seconds left, you cannot call a touch foul with 0.4 seconds left.
Case in point, last year, James Harden got mauled on a game winner, no whistle, but he banked in a 3 and won the game.
Yeah. You just
against
Warriors. Do it. It doesn't happen.
It's always been accepted
that you're just not going to you're not getting a foul call in under 3 seconds left. You're not.
That's always been the exception, unless you're, like you said, on the ground.
Unless you get.
I'm not going to declare straight up that you can never get a foul on the final. No, you can absolutely foul a guy with under that time. But the craziest part that got me at the game. And I'm not a Suns fan. It's just local, and I work downtown, so it's easy for me to go to the game.
Playing well, though. It doesn't. I'm not a Grizzlies fan, but I like to see the Grizzlies play well.
But even like just beyond that of being in that arena when that call happened, yes, booze eventually poured down, and the refs. I mean, it was bad, but there was silence. You had an entire arena. Now the attendance wasn't great, but still, an entire arena in disbelief because that call never gets made.
Can make a call unless it is obvious in that time. I
can tell you this, as a referee, I don't think I'd have made that call.
And they were questionable, and there's always going to be questionable calls. The guy, the Suns fan next to me, Devin Booker, literally gave a cup check to Gortat, and the guy next to me was, "How is that a flagrant? You hit another man there, you're getting a flagrant, and you better get a flagrant." So yes, but
hang on. How did you say that word?
Flagrant?
I think it's flagrant.
Flagrant.
Is Ben Canadian?
We officially have no accent, according to everyone. So you guys say it weird.
Anyway,
but yeah, that's how that happens. But yes,
that's 100% a flagrant foul, and that's an unsportsmanlike flagrant foul, and should result in an ejection every time.
It definitely wasn't intentional. It was a thing that happened, and there was another play later, not too long later, that it actually was reversed, or it happened against the Suns, and they called the same foul there. So yes, but there were some other questionable calls, but those two just kind of jumped me like, does the NBA really hate the Suns? Like this is really sad. Another one, I got to go my slight homer pick that I got to go through here. Yes, the Nuggets have had a couple poor losses. Played well otherwise, but have had a couple bad losses. Yes, one was to the Mavs.
Woo!
And the other one was to the previously winless Pelicans.
Which I think is a lot bigger of a deal than the Mavs loss.
It is. But
the Mavs have a deeper team than anyone has admitted.
Yeah.
We had a lot of really good role players that are not just good role players. They fit around our stars perfectly as far as the Mavs are concerned.
Yes, Jonathan.
But go ahead.
How was the Pelicans loss any worse than the Mavs loss? The Pelicans have been losing by like a grand total. They had like 4 losses by a grand total.
No, that's what we're saying. Is the Mavs loss isn't that bad?
Neither loss is bad. Neither loss is bad. The Pelicans are an average team that was barely losing games. That shouldn't count.
But they have lost Pelicans at that point. There's no Holiday, no Zion.
Holiday had stunk it up.
Beyond, you guys are bearing my point here.
Sorry.
There is nothing there's nothing shameful about losing to the Mavs outside of a playoff series. If you lose to the Mavs in a playoff series this year, you know what? That's disappointing for you. You shouldn't lose to the Mavs in a playoff series this year. I'm sorry. I just think that's my current thoughts about where the Mavs currently are. They should make the playoffs, but they should lose in 7 games. If you shouldn't even go 7, but they should not win a 7-game series. But
playoffs.
That's just
move forward.
But the thing that got me of losing to the winless Pelicans, honestly, is a good thing. From the response that Malone gave after he did not pull any punches. Basically, he called out, no, we're a young team that got a lot of hype for us at the beginning of the season, and we shouldn't have gotten that hype. We believed our own hype. You can't believe your own hype. No, that's why we put in the bench players, and the bench players played better. I will not say that we lost the game because Jokic is unathletic. No, the man is athletic. Just because he's not in your favorite shape, he's still athletic. Charles Barkley was the similar shape, and he was still athletic when he played.
I don't think it's his athleticism that's the problem. I think it's his attitude right now. I'm not sure if maybe it's the legal stuff going on with
relative.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a part of it, but no, they needed some things. But yeah, they needed a loss like this and a skunking. That way Malone goes, no, you guys haven't, just because you're the media darling at the beginning of the season, just because people are predicting you to go through, no, you haven't won anything yet. You guys are acting like you've already won something. No, they needed this loss. It's a great loss at this point of the season.
Yeah.
I don't know about great loss, but yeah, let's see what are some other storylines.
I think we can go to the Warriors now if you want to go to the Warriors.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll end on the Warriors.
Let's do that. Yeah,
So obviously, Steph is going to be out.
Speaking of endings, yeah.
Speaking of endings,
this is it.
He's out for way longer than he should be. The Warriors said 3 months. The doctor who did the surgery said at least 4. So I'm going with the doctor over the Warriors.
The Warriors are still having to fill a new building, so they're going to say 3.
Yeah. This is the worst timing for opening a new arena ever.
Yes, it is a beautiful arena.
The other problem that I have, so I've been working on my scouting for next year. As far as the draft goes, if they don't trade D'Lo, there are only 3 lottery picks as of right now that I can see, or like 3 top 3, 4, 5, 10. There's only 3 top 10 picks that I see that could actually be a fit on their team. That's a problem. That would be Jaden McDaniels from Washington, James Wiseman from Memphis, and Denny Avdija from Israel. Those are the only 3 that I could see them. And even Avdija is kind of iffy because I don't know if he's really a 4. I think he might be really more of a wing than a 4. But that's the only hope that we could have.
They could use a 3. I mean, a 3 is not exactly a no go on them.
Right.
As we discussed in the chat a little bit about trading Draymond, but he really can't be traded until right around the All-Star break, right?
I think that's
yeah. He 4 days before the trade deadline is his. He has 4 days, the 4-day window,
which is just going to be interesting because we'll be interested in seeing how he handles losing. It's a guy who's always had attitude questions before, and losing is not exactly something he has done that often or likes to do. And it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
We're going to have to cut it short tonight, apparently.
We're getting evicted.
Yeah, we're getting evicted.
Oh, fair enough. I was going to say, you guys looked really weird just then.
Yeah, we're getting evicted out of our recording space right now.
So.
All right. So it's going to be an interesting season. The way basketball is and everyone's working. Teams didn't expect them to do poorly, but they're probably going to be awful. And they're probably going to be a lottery pick. But with that, we're going to go ahead and end it. Please like, share, subscribe on all the platforms you can, and just have us on in the background on mute when you're at work. I mean, give us a listen that way if you need to do it, and it's more listening. So
exactly,
that works.
So, anyway, have a great night, everybody.